So we go from a missed opportunity and from talking about the best tag team of the last 10 years in the wrestling business to the smudge and the muck and the filth that bubbles to the top of the swamp of tag team wrestling, the two smarmy, self-absorbed children, Matthew and Nicholas. The Buckaroos and what they had to say for themselves about coming out and confronting Sting in a dastardly manner last week. And they obviously didn't trust these guys to come out live because neither one of them is a CM Punk or a Cody Rhodes or someone who can carry a long live promo in the ring without people hooting them down because nobody wants to listen to these two fucking pricks.
More like a Mosca Jr.
Angelo Mosca Jr. could give them a good run on his promo skills here. But they did a sit down in the back with Renee Moxley Good so they could take as many swings at it, I guess, as they wanted to. And if this was the one they aired, I can imagine what the other one sounded like. But Brian, what did we say here when we heard they were taking time off to come back with a new look? We said they're going to do a takeoff on them really being smarmy, self-centered fucking douchebags and prickish EVPs. And son of a gun, wouldn't you know who won the pony? They're the first thing they say, we're EVPs. Call us by our God-given names. God didn't give them to you, kids. Your parents did. And it was your father's mistake in not pulling out twice to begin with that led to this whole situation that we're in. Our God-given names of Matthew and Nicholas. We're EVPs around here. We deserve respect. And then Renee asks him, well, what about we've heard about temper tantrums and meltdowns and rumors of backstage, and Matthew goes off. And he speaks in riddles and enigmas and conundrums and circles and makes inside references and talks about preserving their life's work. If it was your baby, what would you do to save it? The only danger the company's ever been put in is from people not watching it because of you two. And Matthew looked like he was a child dressed as Gomez Adams for Halloween. They've got the little fucking mustaches and the douchey suits. And I expected him to start grabbing Nick's arm and fucking kissing up the goddamn from the wrist to the elbow. And what they said in 4 minutes of this, which started at 8:56 and ended at 9 o'clock, I guess so they couldn't be blamed if the 9 o'clock quarter drops, nobody would understand. Because it's never been talked about on television. None of this has ever been talked about or explained or referenced before. EVPs, any of the fights or the backstage shit. Even the fact that they were in on the ground floor. Now, of course, the AEW fans, because there's a small number of them and news travels fast, they know what they're talking about, mostly. But even still, there were people, remember there were people in the arenas that were upset when Punk wasn't there in September after he got fired or suspended or whichever that deal was. They don't tell the audience what they're talking about. They talk to the sheets. And look, this is a quote. We started AEW. We said change the world, and we did. We spat in the face of tradition. Out with the old, in with the new, but then we lost our way. The culture shifted and toxicity crept into the locker rooms. Actually, he said creeped because he's not very intelligent. But it's gibberish to anybody. We started to lean on yesterday's self-serving, superficial, cancerous superstars. They're still wound up about Punk. They thought they had won. They thought they got him. And he immediately bops over to the bigger company for much more money and is the biggest star in the business. And they're the ones responsible in large part for the initial onslaught of running him off to begin with. They have to look at Tony. and explained to him, well, yeah, we knew he'd be no good for you. All he did was draw you ratings and pay-per-view buys and sold tickets. We can't do that. So then he said they were leaning on the self-serving, superficial, cancerous superstars, aka money-drawing talent. But then he said, you mentioned Sting. Now, this isn't about him. He's a great guy. He's a model employee. He's awesome. So then who are they? They're talking. God damn it. They're trying to promote Sting's last match, which is the only show coming up that they've sold any appreciable amount of tickets for and that they have interest in. And it's a pay-per-view. And they start cussing out unnamed, self-serving, superficial, cancerous superstars. But the only person whose name they mentioned is Sting. And they clearly said, but we love him. He's not like that. Then why are you going to fucking fight him? Oh, they explain that because it's about what Sting represents. He's the last of a dying breed. Sting isn't in line with what we wanted to do in AEW. What? Draw money? Because he's the only one now doing it. You fucking idiots. You can't get your fucking lies straight. You think that everybody is the indie rec center crowd that hooped and hollered when you did your trampoline shit. You're not good. You're not stars. You're not over. You don't sell tickets and you run people away from the TV show. So they're going to have to run. This was a quote. We're going to have to say goodbye to Sting, and everybody likes Sting, aka big stars, to get their AEW back the way they want it. And nobody understands what the fuck they're talking about. And then Renee said, well, are you challenging Sting? And they say, we're EVPs. We'll pull some strings. And here's another thing, Brian. The self-serving, superficial, cancerous superstars of yesterday, the old school, the old culture. These two mullet heads have been wrestling for 20 years just because nobody ever heard of them till 4 years ago when Tony was stupid enough to put them on his television. Does that absolve them of being old timers? Because even though they're old timers, most of that time nobody knew who the fuck they were. How does that work? Shouldn't this be somebody like Hobbs? Been to business 2 years, 3 years, whatever. Some fuck all you old guys. He's there 40, Matthew and Nicholas. What did besides that they can't get Punk out of their fucking crotch, what did this fucking promo accomplish?
Not much. It was exactly what we were led to believe it would be. We didn't really know what outfit they would choose to wear for this little run here. They always have a little bit of dress up they do for each little minor turn in their character, from smarmy to douchey to just all around sucked them.
Back to smarmy.
Back to smarmy again. This didn't accomplish. This shouldn't reference Punk. You guys had your chance. You had your chance to make all the references you want and make money with it. And instead, you did what you guys always do. What was best for you guys and not best for anyone else.
The only time they talk about him is when he's not there.
That's my point.
But when he came back and the one chance that they had to actually be in something that would draw some money, they wouldn't work with him and they wouldn't do the match and they wouldn't have a meeting. But then as soon as he's 2,000 miles away, yeah, come on, say that again. I'll say it to your face, motherfucker.
No, but they shouldn't even reference him because everyone knows they got their ass kicked. That's the other thing.
Of course.
No one's like, there was an even fight. There's no story that's like, I heard the Young Bucks actually did pretty good for themselves. There's no story. One of them got smashed in the face with a fucking chair. The other one got the shit kicked out of him too, while Omega tried to run away and got bitten.
You blacked my eye.
So, everyone knows that if you're referencing something where you got your ass kicked, there's no payoff. Who are they against? The system? What system? Tony? Again, none of it makes sense. And again, they're playing dress up. And they're not good at promos.
Can you imagine a pro football player or an NBA star say, well, we were doing good on the team till toxicity crept into the locker room?
Toxicity?
What? You fucking pussy, pansy, dickless, ballless, gutless.
It's funny, they don't mean chemical toxicity, only toxicity of, I guess, people who don't think the way they do. But it's not, other toxicities are okay amongst people they know, but
well,
there are certain toxicities
it depends on your toxicity of choice.
That's right.
Well, but anyway.
How do you think this is going to work? Again, the original rumors were they were going to get the usual stooges, Brandon Cutler and Colt Cabana, involved in this, which will do nothing but make their own diminishing fan base happy. Not AEW's, I'm talking about the Bucks, like the universe of their crap. It's a smaller audience than it used to be.
I bet you they just told Cutlet and Coulter, they said, well, we'll figure you guys in too. And then, of course, they ran and squealed to the fucking media because they want to be talked about. Yeah, we're gonna be in a big group with Maddie and Nikki as soon as all these stars get out of the way.
You know, Nick Jackson comes across as a dimwit because he doesn't like say anything, but at least he has like a blank stare. The other one talks, and it's even worse than him not talking because you're like, man, this guy's putting on a show. He doesn't even believe what he's saying. He can't say it coherently or convincingly. It's kind of like, I have so much to say. Like, there's nothing he's actually saying. Like, you read it. It's not coherent. It's just, here's a bunch of things. You know, did Colin Thompson write that?
Oh, he's a kid that got into the sugar, and he's hyper.
It'll be very interesting. This is going to be a very interesting year for AEW. I'll say that. And
I'll say one more thing about this. And they still haven't actually said, yes, this is Sting's last match with the Bucks or whatever. But the story was out this past week also that, well, Sting asked for it to be the Buckaroos. You know, he wanted them to. Well, that's where Tony, as the boss, should have said, you know what, Sting, I love you, but you're crazy. And I'm not saying Sting should have singles. Somebody said, well, Sting and Flair carefully booked. No! Not hell no, but Sting and Darby Allin in a tag team match, playa, not a bad idea. We mentioned FTR. Somebody said, well, they're baby faces. Well, when does that stop anybody in this company? And because there's the North Carolina connection, and FTR really and truthfully, the only reason they're baby faces is because they were so good as heels and were treated so badly in the booking that people got sympathy for them. They could have made some kind of issue out of that. They could have, because there's Maddie and Nikki out in California watching Nadia Comaneci and Olga Corbett as their idols. There was Dax and Cash in the Carolinas watching Crockett Wrestling. They could say, we want to be the ones. We want to either end your career or we want to find out if we're as good as you are. Yeah, whatever the fuck. But as somebody that could have had a good match that could have meant something instead of this, what we're going to get, which is going to be the Bucks doing shit with poor old Sting in the middle and Darby trying to kill himself.
And there's the other problem. Either Sting defeats the heel tag team was just coming back and
yeah.
needs to be established, or they beat Sting in his last match in front of the Greensboro crowd.
You know what? I want to see that.
Oh, come on. Oh, that's awful.
I want to see that. I want to see him pull out a fucking set of knucks and knock Sting out and cover him 1, 2, 3, because then they will understand in Greensboro what we felt like in Mid-South. Grown adult men will be coming over the rail to kick the shit out of those two little motherfuckers, and I'll sit back with popcorn and watch it. Only this time they won't be mad because they believed the wrestling match. They'll be mad because these pricks would actually beat Sting in his last match when he's the one that everybody's paying to see. But you're right. It doesn't make any sense to beat the new heel team coming back, but none of this makes sense anyway. It's poorly thought out, and everybody gets to do what they want with their friends.
And, of course, the other option is it goes to a draw or something, and Sting ends the match by hugging the Young Bucks, and for a moment on one night, they're back to being nice little boy baby faces, and then they go back to being bad boys, or whatever they are.
Well, bad boys, what you gonna do?
Turn the channel.
Exactly.